Welcome to another episode of Reframe for Resilience. This is the podcast where we interview real people who have transformed their lives, and we hear how they have taken different perspectives, different approaches, and the impact that that has had on them. We like to talk about reframing and how that has impacted their lives, have made them more productive, has also had an impact on others. I am Dr. Frank Douglas, your host, and my guest today is Dr. Ron Lewis. He's a professor of market sport management. He's also an author with his twin brother of the book Gritty, and he is a consultant in leadership. I had a very interesting pre-interview with Dr. Lewis, and I think you are going to be very taken by his story. Dr. Lewis, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Douglas. I appreciate it. Yeah, happy to be here.
Well, since you are here, share
Yeah.
with us, in your journey,
hmm
some aspect of your journey that was really very challenging for you, in which you felt really stuck.
Well, let's bypass my childhood because I got to admit I had a great childhood. Two-parent household, mom, dad worked hard from Mississippi. I have an identical twin brother. He's 6'5". My sister is 6'1". I'm 6'4", so we played a lot of basketball in the backyard. I will say that the real story of resilience for me start when I graduated college. So I graduated in 2005 with a master's in sport management. I got an undergraduate degree at Barry University with a degree in broadcast communication. So I stayed another 2 years to get my master's in sport management at Barry University. So in my mind, I am thinking like if I get this, I'm a competitor. Okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking if I get this master's degree, how many undergrad students come and go directly into a master's program? In my mind, I'm thinking, well, not many. So this is going to give me a leg up. So I ended up getting this master's degree and I started working at a YMCA. And it was okay. So this is 2005. I got my first job at a YMCA in Indiana. It's okay. I just felt like I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to plan the same basketball program year after year. Like it just didn't feel like it was enough. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I was like, I don't know. So I would say within a year or so, I ended up leaving the job. Okay. So my second job out of college, I go and work for another YMCA. I don't know why I did that, but I needed a job, so maybe that's why I don't know. But I needed a job, so I ended up working for another YMCA, different location in a very rural area that had challenges in itself. But maybe for a different podcast, we'll talk about that in itself. But a year and a half later, I ended up getting fired. Okay, so that job is over. I go to a different non-for-profit job. I work for the American Cancer Society, non-for-profit. I'm excited. A year and a half later, I get fired. So the third time, I said, well, it's a non-for-profit thing. It's not a Ron Lewis thing. It's a non-for-profit thing. So I'm never going to work for another non-for-profit in my life. They don't know how to treat me. So I end up working for a medical device company. I didn't know hanging surgical lights in a hospital was $1 million industry, but I ended up getting a job working for this small company doing just that. A year and a half later, I get fired. So roughly in around 4 years, I get fired um, three times in a row. Three times in a row. And it changed everything for me.
So, how did it change things for you? What happened thereafter? What, what insight did you get that changed things? Because, you said at one point you thought this was a nonprofit issue, but then you go work for a for-profit and you
Hmm.
get fired. So
Yep.
you recognize that this is a Ron Lewis problem.
It's a Ron Lewis problem. That's it, Doc. That's what I realized. That was some of the most insightful discovery. Here's something I truly believe. We're not broke. We don't need fixing. We need rediscovery. So I believe that I'm sitting on a couch late night. I am terrified. I am terrified that my car is going to be repossessed. My house is going to be foreclosed on. And after reading How to Discover Your Strengths, looking at the Strength Finders, I'm listening to so many different perspectives. I come to the realization it's not the jobs. The jobs are not the issue. It's a Ron Lewis issue. It is a me issue, not understanding what my strengths are, not understanding what I'm designed for. And that's what led me on a quest to really figuring out, and I'm still figuring, but really being on a quest to find out what are your skill sets? What are your strengths? What are your innate strengths? And how do you use them to, and I don't want to sound super noble, but truly, how do I serve humanity? How do I do and be the best version of myself using the skills that I have?
So as you were on this quest, what did you do as you were on this quest? Did you reach out to individuals whom you knew? Did you read books that might be helpful? What did you do in your quest?
Yep. Yep. So the first book I read was How to Discover Your Strengths. Why that book? I really don't remember why that book, but I knew it was a perspective gap. It wasn't a skill gap. It wasn't like time management. That wasn't the issue. The issue was a perspective. I was missing a perspective. I didn't even know what I was good at. I got a master's degree, but I don't know what I'm good at. So that's one. Number two is once reading that book, it actually just led me to another book, which is the Strength Finders book. It said my number one strength was communication. Well, what do you do with that? I was already kind of teaching adjunct courses, but it in the book it says those individuals with this number one skill out of 35, they're like teachers, they're facilitators, they're speakers. So I felt like, oh wait, I think I'm on track. And as I start to backtrack, and as I looked at those previous positions, the most success I had was actually giving presentations, was actually teaching something. I've always been teaching something, whether I'm teaching my sister or my brother how to use their left hand in the backyard when we were learning basketball. I was always able to take a concept, break that concept down into manageable pieces, and then teach it. But in the jobs that I were in, I did not have to do that. It was more sitting behind the desk doing all this detail oriented work. And I just found it to be frustrating. And obviously, I was doing a lot of damage control, which led me to being fired because I just wasn't good at it. So I really realized that my rules of leadership. Number one, leadership is ownership. You got to own it. And that's what I really stepped away from is leadership is ownership. Number two, you can't give what you don't have. And for me, what I didn't have was the necessary self-trust and confidence. I had confidence like how to go to school because I know how to be a student. But how do you be on your own? How do you make your own decisions and live with those decisions? That's what I had trouble with. And then number three, respect what is. That's my third rule. In that entire process, what I soon realized is here is the process. You're not running from it. You can't run from it. This is something you're going to not simply go through, but you're going to have to grow through it. And I think that's what I did. I ended up growing through it to help not anything else, not to pay bills, not to get a job, but to see myself better.
So now that you have discovered these aspects of yourself, and in a real sense, not only what are the skills and capabilities of a Ron Lewis, but in some
Mhm.
ways, who is Ron Lewis? Was there anyone who helped you then to make the next step now that you've done sort of the discovery? How do you, having discovered yourself, how do you now discover the place where Ron Lewis will now be himself and produce?
That's a really good question because sometimes you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And I rely on family. I have to admit, I rely on my family more than anything because my family, we've grown up together. They would never sugarcoat me. They would never tell me I'm doing great when I'm not. They would never tell me, hey, you really need to look at this more when, and not tell me and have a balanced communication with me. So I really rely on my family, but I have to admit, Doc, that more than anything in the world, I believe in being a COO, and that's a community of one. What does that mean? That doesn't mean I don't rely on like my wife, my brother, my sister, even my parents. But that also means I have to, every single day, I have to look in the mirror and look at myself. And I have to be honest with myself first.
So tell me the transition to being a professor.
The transition to being a professor is 2020. It's COVID. And in that COVID year, my business is like all of our business almost pretty much shut down. Like I had $12,000 leave me in a day in contracts. So I wasn't thinking about actually being a professor. And the position was open and it was something that's been semi on my bucket list. And on that bucket list, I wanted to be a professor. I wanted to teach. And I applied. I went through the process in that 2020 year. And in the fall of 2020, a year prior, I just finished my doctorate degree in global leadership, and I was granted the assistant professorship
Mhm.
at the University of St. Francis.
And tell us a little bit about what topics you focus on.
Sure, sure. So as a professor, I focus on marketing and sport management, and I have the ability to really connect with a large majority of our students in our school, which are athletes. And as a former student athlete, um, I'm talking about marketing, I'm talking about sport management, but I find a lot of my time in teaching this subject, but really mentoring the students that I have the honor to work with, of helping them bridge the gap between their love for their respective sport and how to take all of that energy and in 4 years transition that into the professional world.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, in closing, what are, two or three, uh,
Mhm.
if you like, principles or ideas you would like to leave with the audience in terms of resilience?
So those are the principles I would leave with. Embrace the reality, design an empowering meaning when situations happen in life, and last but not least, take action and trust yourself.
Dr. Lewis, thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
I like the three things that you have left us with, but there's one line that I really love, and it's going through my mind,
Okay.
that when you are the picture in the frame,
Hmm.
you can't see what's going on. So
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
reframe, you've got to come out of that frame.
You have to come out the frame.
Come
I
out-
love it. Yeah. And
Yes,
sometimes it takes somebody else to do it. And then sometimes I like to come out myself. Like I want to, but that's looking in the
self-ownership.
mirror every day. Yes,
That's
ownership is the
self-ownership.
key. Personal ownership. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, and
Appreciate it.
congratulations on your journey. And I wish you continued success
Appreciate it,
your
Doc.
journey and your self-discovery.
Thank you.